We'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings adopted at the organizational meeting held on January 6, 2025. Adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Kenilworth Board of Education has been provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, the local source, on January 16, 2025. A copy has been filed with the Kenilworth Borough Clerk, posted in the board office, the Kenilworth Borough Hall, Brearley and Harding Schools, as is provided by the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thank you, Mr. Ganella. Please rise and join us in the salute to the flag. Mr. Ganella, can we please have roll call?
Biner. Here. Crincoli.
Here.
David. Ferrara.
Here.
Haberthur.
Here.
Herdina.
Here.
Ladati. Here. Panici.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ganella. We will now have the receiving of the minutes and committee notes of the secretary, the regular BOE minutes of the secretary from February 10th, 2025, and committee meeting notes from February 11th, Finance and Facility Committee, February 20th, Curriculum and Instruction, February 24th, 2025, Personnel Committee, February 26th, 2025, Finance and Facilities, and also March 3rd, 2025, Finance and Facilities also. Can I please have a motion for the receiving and acceptance of the minutes? Second? Second. Motion made by Mr. Ferrera, seconded by Dr. Crincoli. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Mr. Ganella, do we have any reading and acceptance of monthly correspondence?
Yes, we have one item of correspondence, a letter dated 2/28/25 from Mr. Davies and Dr. Panici to Senator Cryan regarding state aid FY '26.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the monthly correspondence, please?
Move.
Second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Haberthur, seconded by Mr. Herdina. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Thank you. We will now have superintendent's reports and presentations. Superintendent, Mr. Davies.
Thank you, Dr. Panici. I'd like to start off with Nelsie Sully, our student rep from Brearley. She's going to provide us with the student rep report. Welcome, Nelsie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nelsie Sully, and I'm excited to be here as David Brearley's Board of Education representative to talk about our recent and upcoming events. On February 28th, the Black Culture Society hosted their Black Celebration event in the cafeteria. Students gave presentations on the famous Black historical figures, as well as listened to jazz music by the Alex DeVries Quartet. We also had fantastic food at this conclusion. This past weekend, the DBHS Drama Department presented This Murder Was Staged on Friday and Saturday evening. It was great to see everyone get to perform under the new light and sound system. The middle school play will take place on Thursday, April 3rd, and Saturday, April 5th. Today was the first day of NJGPA testing. All juniors took the first part of the math test today. They will take part 2 of the math tomorrow and English on Wednesday and Thursday. All 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 12th graders have a delayed opening Tuesday through Thursday. Brearley will have a regular scheduled day on Friday, March 14th. Spring sports are underway, and the teams are looking to have fantastic seasons. The counseling department has met with the class of 2026 and their parents to choose classes for their senior year. Next week, they will begin to meet with sophomores, freshmen, and 8th grade students. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you just before spring break. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Nelsie. Do any board members have questions for Nelsie before we move on?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to move now to two presentations that we have regarding our budget. But first, just a few comments from myself. The 25-26 school budget has been top of mind for several months for all of us here. The leadership team, under the guidance of Mr. Ganella, has been hard at work since October to make sure we maintain and grow our programming for our students through the budget process, all the while appreciating our support, sure that we do not place undue burden on our taxpayers. It's a balancing act of unfortunate competing interests. I am proud of the work of my team, several of whom are here tonight to present some of the highlights from our budget. In addition to the work of the leadership team, we've been appealing to all levels of stakeholders to sing it from the rooftops that our Kenilworth students deserve their fair share of state dollars just as much as students in surrounding communities. I've been to a State Board of Education public hearing. We met with our state-level legislators. We met with our Kenilworth mayor and borough council liaison. I met with the PTOs of both buildings. I met with the faculties of both buildings. And all of those stakeholders received the same message, that district costs are increasing greater than 2%. Meanwhile, state aid continues to decline. State aid figures were released on the 28th of last month. If you recall, this time last year, Kenilworth lost approximately $1.6 million in equalization aid from the year prior. To further emphasize the losses in equalization aid, just note that in 2023-2024, we had $3.9 million in this aid category, and this coming year we have $650,000. So it's a significant drop in equalization aid over 3 years. Mr. Cannella will get more into that. And you'll also recall that in June of last year, we did receive $633,000 in stabilization aid back from the state, but that did not come our way this year. Long story short, Kenilworth has lost 3.92% in state aid. Add to this equation that costs are increasing across many expenditure categories, and the situation is not a strong one budgetarily. The administrative team has been and will continue to be working hard and thoroughly reviewing the budget to determine how to make up for this deficit. As always, we will prioritize students' needs and do our best to preserve the opportunities for our kids. There will be some difficult cuts in personnel ahead. Despite any cuts, we will work to maintain the excellent programming that is a hallmark of our district. I am upset by all of this. I am upset by all of this because I know that the heart and soul of our district are the educators, many of them who are here tonight, who make up our ranks and give their best to our kids each and every day. And I know, despite the cloud of potential cuts and despite the uncertainty associated with what's happening, our teachers, our counselors, our case managers, our educational services professionals, our coaches, our secretaries, our custodians, our aides, our related service providers, all of us at Kenilworth Public Schools will continue to bring our best. We'll continue to bring our heart and souls to the betterment of our students and for the betterment of the Kenilworth community, no matter what happens with our budget. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Bobnowski, who's going to lead our leadership team in some of the highlights of our 25-26 budget process.
Good evening, everyone. So we just flick to the next slide. I'd like to highlight some Harding budget items. There they are. Okay, the showcase up on the screen reflects initiatives that we've been working really hard to adopt and refine over the years. Our budget is designed to support a multisensory approach to learning, ensuring that all students have access to high-quality, research-based instructional materials. Our language arts materials that you will find supported in this budget, our first is our Orton Gillingham program, which is a structured multisensory approach to phonics instruction, supporting our early literacy development. All of our teachers, K through 3, are certified in Orton Gillingham. All of our teachers K through 6 are trained in Readers and Writers Workshop, which is a research-based instructional framework that fosters student independence in reading and writing through mini lessons and guided practice. In our older grades, our teachers use morphology to enhance vocabulary and comprehension by teaching students the meaning and the structure of the word parts. Lastly, we would really like to expand and diversify our leveled book collections to support independent reading and student engagement in grades K to 5, putting books in students' hands and fostering that love of reading. In just a short while, you'll hear about our new math program rollout. The items listed on the screen pair really well with our new program, offering supports for our learners. Number Worlds is an intervention program designed to help students who need foundational support in number sense and problem solving. Touch Math is a multi-sensory program that reinforces number concepts through touch points, cubes, and other manipulatives, benefiting students who need that multi-sensory approach. And then lastly, our investment in STEAM initiatives over the years foster creativity, problem solving, and innovation, preparing our students for the future. Ozobots and Spherobolt are interactive coding robots that promote problem solving, critical thinking, and hands-on learning in STEM. Our makerspace materials are tools and resources that encourage creativity, engineering, design thinking through hands-on projects in both our STEM and media tech labs.
Thank you, Mr. Bobnowski. Any questions regarding the Harding highlights for our budget?
Thank you.
Mr. Per-
I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Sure. You said that the all your K through 3 teachers are certified with Orton Gillian. Is there any push to make 4 through 6 certified?
Go ahead.
So they're trained at Orton Gillingham, which is the foundational skills for the K to 3. The morphology is the second part
Okay,
of that
so it's the same thing.
training. So we do have a comprehensive K to 6 word study program.
Thank you.
The team approach.
Mr. Perillo is next, principal of David Brearley, to review the Brearley highlights in our budget.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. So on the right-hand side are some of the highlights of things that we're currently using from the budget from last year. Our state-of-the-art auditorium is 96% up and running. We have a couple little things to add, and then we're ready to go. We were able to run our shows Friday and Saturday, which was great to see and a great opportunity for our students. In the back of the building, the new entrance and the new entryway to Brearley is going to give kids a great opportunity to come in the building, and it's sort of a metaphor for the last tab, which is the anticipation of our grade 6 students coming into the middle school next year. They're coming into a brand new building with a brand new entryway. And we're using that right now. It's on its way to being fully finished and going from there. Looking to the left in the white background, one of the things that we're really working on with the budget this year was giving David Brearley Middle School a true identity. Right now, we're a 7th through 12 school, 7th and 8th grade. We give them lots of love and lots of attention, but they're missing that middle school philosophy and that middle school identity. Having the students, the 5th graders from Harding come over next year is going to afford the opportunity for us to give that to the students, which they really deserve. Along with that, we're going to be introducing and opening our new STEM lab for the middle school. This is a 2-part thing that works with us. One, it's a great opportunity to have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade electives for our students, whether it's robotics and 3D printers and all the stuff that the students are using at Harding right now, and they're going to be able to continue that pathway through to the middle school, and that in turn will lead into more STEM opportunities for our high school students. So we can continue a pathway from 6th grade all the way through 12th, which is going to be one of the academy programs we're working on. Next year, we're going to be introducing a criminal justice academy for students who want to go that route. We're going to be using that as the springboard to add more academies in the years to follow. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perillo. Any questions regarding Brearley?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Heimpel, who's going to cover our curriculum, professional development, and textbook budget.
Hi. So over the past 2 years, we have been engaging in an in-depth exploration of best practices in mathematics instruction and how new math programs can effectively meet the needs of our students in Kenilworth. As a part of this effort, we've been piloting 3 comprehensive and research-based math programs across grades K to 8 this year. The implementation of these pilots have provided valuable insights, and we are already observing innovative and engaging mathematical thinking among our students. We are pleased to announce that beginning next year, which is a huge part of my budget, we will launch a new district-wide K to 8 math programming designed to enhance student learning and achievement. This initiative will include robust support for parents and the comprehensive wraparound programming that Mr. Bobnowski referenced to provide additional learning opportunities for students who require reinforcement and practice. In the coming months, we will share further details on how families can collaborate with us to ensure a smooth and successful transition. Next year, our staff will continue to collaborate with expert staff developers across various content areas to enhance instructional practices and enrich the teaching and learning experience. We're committed to continuous professional growth, recognize that high-quality professional development empowers our educators to refine their skills, implement best practices, and deliver the exceptional instruction that they do. By fostering a culture of ongoing learning, we ensure that our classrooms remain dynamic, engaging, and responsive to the needs of all of our students. And the last one referenced on there is a third. As a part of our unwavering commitment to equitable education, we are launching a comprehensive 3-year training initiative to equip all staff with specialized expertise in sheltered instructional practices for multilingual learners. This evidence-based approach is designed to enhance academic achievement by integrating language development strategies into all content instruction, ensuring that all students, regardless of their language background, have equitable access to rigorous, high-quality learning experiences.
Question. With the textbooks, are we using just hard copy textbooks, or are we using licensing, or both?
Both. Most classrooms now have like a classroom
bundle.
copy of textbooks that they look at, but it's mostly online.
And then the partnerships with the staff developers, is the approach to train our people in-house, have some consultants come out and then do our own training so that we don't have to pay the consultants?
So over the past few years, we've had multiple staff developers come in across all the content areas. At those, the teachers attend all of those, obviously, as well as any coaches and myself. I attend all of them, and often the admins in the building. So while we're there, we are trying to build knowledge that will continue to live in the building. If one person leaves or other people leave, we have a cadre of people and knowledge that we can build upon. So yes.
Thank you. And then last question, we know that this is a new program, so will it be available for the board periodically to get some info about usage, to kind of align and look at like where we are, what's happening with,
Sure.
you know, we're gonna get our data test scores, but some insights once the program rolls out, because we wanna look at what we're spending the money on, what the grades are, what students' test scores are, so we can kind of just examine student usage, all that kind of stuff, so we can have some information to continue to evaluate if it's something that we wanna support or, you know, work with for the future, because we know that cuts are, you know, happening.
Absolutely, of course. And also another big part of this will be the parent component. I did send out an initial survey to parents who were in pilot classes for the different programs. And so I did get some initial feedback that parents are feeling a little reluctant in helping their children with their math homework because it seems very new, or it was taught in different ways than they were taught. And so because I believe, and I know we all believe, that it can't just all be on the teachers, it has to have the parent support, and it has to have a full community investment in the program. I do plan on launching a lot of different opportunities for parent training, parent information, different ways that parents can stay involved, which obviously would include all of you, and you can be welcome to attend some of those as well. But from the data end, the teachers will be putting into the system regular testing data, pre-assessments, post-assessments that we will be able to track and take a look at.
Just to piggyback on what Michelle was asking about the follow-up and getting data and seeing, as this is certainly not my first program
Yes.
renewal over the
Yes.
years. What kind of window of time are we looking at? I know that's always been the case whenever something new came in.
Yeah.
You know, data you're getting in the same year that you're using it doesn't necessarily reflect that program. So what is a realistic timeline to understand whether or not this program is making a difference?
Thank you for that question. It's one of the things I think I brought up at the curriculum committee. It's something that we don't want to hear, and I feel reluctant to say, but I'm just going to say it. Like, there is typically something called an implementation dip that does happen the first year you implement a full new program. What that means is, especially as big as a shift as this program is going to be, or any of the new math programs, it takes time for the teachers to learn the new programming, especially partnered with the fact that we have new math standards. In the pilot classrooms, I will say we've seen wonderful things happen, but when it's, broadly across, we might see for 1 year an implementation dip, possibly, hopefully just 1 year. But in reality, when you're looking at implementing a full new program and way of teaching and thinking, it typically takes about 3 years for it to reach like its full maximum implementation of including all of the parts that it needs to have in order for it to truly impact scores.
Right, now I understand, I just think it's important to be said, because people at home watching this may say, oh, they got a new program, so everything's gonna be great, and then when that year, their children slide, the numbers slide, it's like, well, wait a minute, where did the money go? We've got this new program, why isn't everything fixed? You know,
Yeah.
that understanding needs to be out there as well, that this is not an overnight journey, and it might not be the end journey. At the end of that time period, there may
And
be
maybe
another.
at some point in the future, I don't know, but I can give a presentation either to the board or I will be giving to the public as well on what the new program entails, what the shifts look like. And so we can see sort of some of these new ways that we are presenting the math. I believe wholeheartedly in the programs that we are looking at and the things that they are asking children to do. We have seen amazing things. I know, Mr. B, you've gone into a bunch of the rooms with me as well. And just the way that children have been talking about math and thinking around math and the way we've been challenging them. The other day I was in a fourth grade classroom and I, incorrectly looked at one of the problems at first and was like, oh man. And then all of a sudden, child raised his hand and was like, well, it's da-da-da, and here's why. And I was like, oh, yep, I completely got that wrong at first glance, thinking. And he was able to explain why, and it was like points on a number line and, you know, according to a fraction. It was like hard thinking, and if you first looked at it, you would have thought something different, as I did. And they engaged in this rich discussion about why it was closer to 1 than 0. And it was awesome. It's been really nice to see the things happening in the classrooms. So I am very excited for
So
where
when was
this-
the last time we changed our math program? I know we kind of grilled you on the
Yeah,
finance
that's
committee, and I
okay. It's
apologize
okay.
for that, but we've had math programs roll out, you know, we're very blunt with you about the math programs that we've
Yeah.
rolled out in the past that have not worked or not worked
Yeah.
as well as everybody said they would, so thank you for putting up with us for that. But I don't remember what you said about the last time we
It's
kind of,
2016,
okay,
so we've been using Go Math since then.
okay.
And since then, we've had basically 2 standard shifts. And there's also been new research out on mathematical thinking. All the new math programs also include things that that we're finding, like we need to have the math, the students to understand where math lives in our world and why it's applicable to what they do. So in all the math programs, there's like some STEAM components and there's some job connection components. So our students understand, like, we have to know how to do this because we need this in our lives and it can help me in the future. So lots of new round mathematical thinking in children
Great.
will be in these programs.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Heimel.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Kukalo, who is going to take us through the highlights from the special education and guidance budget.
Good evening. So tonight I'm going to focus on a special education development. As you know, over the past several years, we've been working to reestablish the continuum of special education services and supports. And we've had a changing cohort of students move in over the last couple of years. And now at this point, if you look to the right of the screen, you'll see that our language learning disabilities program this year is in place for K2, 3rd through grade 5, and then grades 9 through 12 technically, but we have middle school students in that class. So next year, we're actually going to have enough students to open up a separate middle school class. So we'll actually have K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. That's exciting. As we are watching our students get older, they are also going to be benefiting from our enhanced transition programming. So we have Carly Marquetta, who has been working with students and parents conducting transition assessments, and a little bit about language learning disability classrooms and how they might look different than other classrooms you might walk into. There's typically a much higher staff to student ratio in an LLD room. If you walk into a classroom at any given time in the day, you're probably going to see integrated related service therapies, including speech, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and the behaviorist in the classroom coming in and out. You're also going to see a highly structured, routine-based day. And the curriculum in the LLD classrooms is typically individualized to student goals and objectives, as well as a modified core standards, kind of the blending of those two. The objective in the learning disabilities classroom is, of course, to close any learning gaps for students and prepare them always for adulthood and independence. So we're very excited to have that development for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Kuklo. Any questions about special education?
Thank you.
So when you look at kind of the highlights, you heard Mr. Bobnowski talk about the love of reading. You heard Mr. Perillo talk about math, Ms. Kuklo about the diverse needs of our learners. So those are our areas of focus, and I couldn't ask for stronger areas of focus: books, math, STEM, diverse learners. So I am proud of this budget, despite some struggles that we have had with, aid. But it is a good budget, and we're able to move forward, keeping these programs going and even growing. Mr. Ganella is now going to walk us through the budget overview, and then I think he's going to pivot to some construction updates too, correct?
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the leadership team for the diligent work this budget season. It's definitely been challenging, as Mr. Davies said, particularly with the anticipated loss of state aid. We were preparing for a loss of state aid. As some of you are aware, we were running two separate budget scenarios, one with flat funding, which would have been lovely, and then the other one with the anticipation of reduction in our equalization aid, which was the one that came to fruition. Some of our budget timelines. So we're getting to the very end of the board review process and submissions and approvals. So tonight we're in the process of reviewing the budget with the full board. The Finance Committee has met multiple times over the past 2 months. The Personnel Committee has met, and we've reviewed some of the staffing implications with the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, specifically some of this class size information. So we're coming to the end of that process. Next week, we have a special Board of Education meeting to adopt the tentative budget for submission to the Executive County Superintendent, who will then review the budget for technical review. The board will still have opportunities, if something changes, to make modifications to the budget prior to the adoption, the final adoption of the budget on April 30th. I have to submit the budget to the Executive County Superintendent on March 19th by statute. And then we go through some advertising processes, and then finally we would hold the public hearing on April 30th, where the board would adopt the budget. Just like to briefly review some of the phases of the budget. As you know, we have 3 phases of the budget. The first phase is the leadership team phase. The second team is staffing and personnel, and the third phase is the school business administrator documentation. Phase 1, leadership team budgets. You heard some of the highlights from the administrative team tonight. It's increasing a bit this year. There are 2 primary factors behind that increase, though we try to keep it down. The new implementation of the new math program that Ms. Hempel reviewed earlier this evening is one of the reasons. And the second reason is in the extraordinary services area under special education. We're required to provide some services to an out-of-district placement student who will be returning back to the district. So those services will need to be provided in district next year. So there's a little bit of a shift. The good news is the pluses and minuses overall will result in a decrease for that specific student, because we're no longer going to be spending out-of-district tuition. So the increase is here, but the decrease is under the Phase 3 budget, which is tuition. So a little bit of a shifting of resources from one area to the other. The Phase 2 budget, which is salaries and staffing, as Mr. Davies stated, this is a very difficult process for us to go through. The projected staffing overall, the personnel budget is currently down nearly 1% overall. Those specifics are still being finalized. Tomorrow, select members of the leadership team will meet with Mr. Davies and me to review some of these changes. Following this, Mr. Davies will provide the board with a detailed explanation outlining these reductions, the reductions that are being made, and the impact on the instructional program. That will come via email. It should be emphasized that these decisions have not been made lightly and should remain confidential until the administration has an opportunity to meet with the affected staff members to discuss the implications. It's very important. People's livelihoods are at stake. We want to do this in a respectful manner. Phase 3, this is a breakdown graphically to show you how the bulk of our salaries go towards instruction and support services. Close to 82% of it goes to that. All other categories are about 18%. Phase 3, which is the school business administrative documentation portion of the budget, is down 3% from last year. Note, though, however, if you exclude the buildings and grounds area, which has some projects in it, the total of all the other budget lines remains essentially flat. So you can see there you have a negative $468,000 in the buildings and grounds area, and overall it's down about $470,000. So if you take that out, it would be basically a 0% increase. And I'll provide further details both in an email this week as well in my presentation next week. State aid, as we've discussed, despite how it was presented by the Department of Education, is down nearly 4%. The DOE's analysis did not really account for the loss of stabilization aid, which I believe is misleading at best, but that's how they decided to provide the data. I understand why they did it that way, because technically stabilization aid isn't a state aid that is funded by the governor's office. It's more funded by the legislature. So I understand why they did it, but it gave a very bad representation to the public who looked at those numbers and said, oh, you guys did great, you got more state aid. Well, if you take out that $634,000 in stabilization aid, no, it really results in a $274,000 decrease. Special education aid went up significantly, which we were very pleased at. Transportation aid also went up. Choice aid also went up. Choice aid has an inverse relationship with equalization aid. So as equalization aid goes down, your choice aid goes up. That's one of the good things about this formula. It recognizes that. So next, I would like to see here, you got your expenditures. I'll go over much more detail next week. They're down by 2.26%, as well as the revenues down by 2.2%, compared to the 2024-25 adjusted budget. As I said, I'll provide more detail on this next week and in the email. However, it's important to note that we anticipate a tax levy increase, that first line of about a 2.7% increase, and we will be utilizing $1,081,000 in reserves to help offset the tax levy. And I am looking forward to discussing these details with you further and provide you more down to details on at the March 18th meeting. Any questions?
The pie chart, 9.1% of the budget to admin salary.
Mm-hmm.
How many admins does that account for?
13.
Well, is it?
Yes.
for the upcoming budget. It accounts for,
Can we review this next week? Because it has staffing impacts.
It does, true.
Okay? Or I can tell you after the meeting.
okay.
Okay?
Anyone else, any questions for Mr. Ganella?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, referendum, you have to do referendum. Okay.
While we're changing slides, just a note of thanks to the leadership team who are here tonight and those who are not. This is a lot of work, as Mr. Ganella highlights, between the work that Mr. Ganella is doing with all of the spreadsheets, the state aid figures, but then also just the planning and the decision-making that goes on as well. So I want to thank Mr. Bobnowski, Mr. Perillo, Ms. Heimpel, Ms. Kukalo for presenting. Also from the admin team that are here tonight is Mr. Miller from Athletics, Mr. Connolly from Buildings and Grounds, and Mr. Rodriguez from our IT department. So everyone has a hand in our budget process. So just thanks for the hard work. Yeah.
Okay, this is my monthly update on the referendum projects. Field, we're really close to finalizing that. Basically, we have to wait for some nicer weather for the company to come back and re-groom the field one last time. So that's nothing really urgent, but it's part of the contract that they come back and they groom it one more time and get those rubber beads all back in place after the winter. And then it's after that we take it over and it's our responsibility to move those little rubber beads around. HVAC upgrades, Burley controls and balancing is complete. Harding controls and balancing is complete. The BMS, which is Building Management System, training has been scheduled with the KBOE staff, and actually it took place this morning. I did this earlier. I did not know that, so that's good. That was done. It was successful, and the punch list is in progress. The active projects include the additions. So the brick facade, you'll see that really moving nicely and quickly. Those guys are really doing a nice job, and they do it one brick at a time, believe it or not, and it's moving. The MEP, which is your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, rough installations, is nearly complete. The fire stairwell and the stairs in the addition are up. The irrigation system is in progress. sod is scheduled for this Friday, and the field preparation for the sod is supposed to be finished this week as well. Interior drywall is in progress. Area B and D, the auditoriums. Harding Auditorium is complete. We're just have to have the sound and the light system upgraded there. Harding Punch List is also in progress. Burley Auditorium is complete. I was at the show on Friday night, and the lighting looked good. The sound sounded good. So I was very pleased to see everything in the drama. People even threw a little dig in at us, which was good. It was funny. They were going back and forth with the spotlights, and the actor was going from one place to another place, and she was saying, "Oh, I can't figure these lights out." And at one point she said, "What did they just install these lights yesterday?" Which we did. So we do appreciate their time, because this was the drama. This was supposed to be a fall, so we do appreciate their patience in doing that. Area C, which is the lobby, you could take a look at it. Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Connolly's team got the TVs up. There will be programs soon once we get some more materials or some pro software for that. And as I said earlier, the temporary certificate occupancy has been received for the lobby and the auditorium. For some pictures, you can see here a picture of the addition from the baseball field, some corridor work. In the second picture, some of the interior spaces. You can see the drywall going up very quickly. The bottom left-hand side, you can see how much brick has been put up, and that's in basically the courtyard between the two buildings, and then the last two pictures are the stairwells that have been installed. And here's a nice view of the brickwork and the exterior work. and the nice mud pit that we got out there too. So, and then some action shots from the play the other day. So it was very nice to see it all come together. Project breakdown. There have been no new change orders since the last time we spoke. They have been relatively minimal, which is good. And the first two projects, Project 1 and 2, are almost at completion. The additions work is getting closer to 50%, which is very nice, and we're still on schedule for our June 1st substantial completion for that. Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Ganella, for both your oversight of the projects as well as your work on the budget. There's a lot going on throughout the district. Lastly, for my superintendent's report is the HIB report. Please note that resolution number 14 on the agenda is your decision on the 3 HIB cases from last month that we reviewed. So those are not new, what we reviewed last month. In terms of, and those were from January, the incidents. The new ones from this past month of February are reported in your packet. There was one investigation at David Brearley. That one investigation, the incident did not rise to the level of an HIB. It was deemed mutual conflict, and parents were informed of that and on board with that. So that's the HIB report from February. You also have in there the discipline report from last month, as well as the enrollment report and the residency report. I'll give you a minute to just review anything if you have any questions for me. Just the other note, while you're looking at things for the public, it's just an exciting resolution in my mind, which is resolution number 9 in the packet. It is the creation of David Brearley Middle School, and I think that's just an exciting time for our community. This is the board resolution to officially create a new CDS code, which means we're creating a new middle school, which means we're changing the configuration of Harding, which means we're changing the configuration of David Brearley, which means we're creating the middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So it's an exciting resolution. I think it's a nice moment. So I just wanted to highlight that. Any questions, though, about it? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Panici.
At this time, we will now move on to finance, facilities, and negotiations. Mr. Ladati.
Okay, well, Vince and Superintendent Davis covered a lot, and the administrators covered a lot of the material for, the finances. So I'll just go into basically what we've done in our committee. The committee has been actively engaged in the details of the 26 budget, meeting 3 times since our last board meeting. The February 11th meeting, the committee continued its review of phase 1 of the administrator's budget, meeting with Mr. Perillo, Ms. Kukalo, Mr. Rillo, Mr. Miller. Additional topics we discussed that evening were copier utilization in the school's unemployment trust fund reserves, bond interest and arbitrage rebate, and the Harding School playground. On February 25th, the committee met with Mayor Karlovich and Councilwoman Perserno to discuss multiple topics, which included taxes, redevelopment projects, construction initiatives, recreation programs, and facility use. We also conducted a detailed review of Phase 3, which is the school administrator's budget. We reviewed the status of Phase 2, salary and staffing, and Phase 1 budgets. We discussed operational deficit, potential loss of state aid, fund balancing reserves, Winfield tuition rates for 25-26, and proposed facility projects. And we actually went out and toured the new addition. In the March 3rd meeting, the committee focused on the impact of state aid, overall expenditures and revenues, tax levy, and projected budget cuts, Harding class sizes. Additionally, the committee has been evaluating the use of district fields by athletic organizations to ensure a fair and equitable process while maintaining fiscal responsibility. Basically, they're out, programs that are not associated with the rec programs that want to use our field, so we're trying to develop a plan to try to see if they can use our fields, what kind of regulations we're gonna put on them, and cost, et cetera. The committee also formally recommend to the full board the use of the district grounds for them in August, and we'll have a resolution for that in the April meeting. For resolution, you just heard the superintendent's reports. I reviewed the bill list and the financials along with the line item transfers. I didn't find any outliers. Everything seems to be in order. There are 8 workshops in travel. Field trips, there are 3. I think 2 are to the library, 1 is to the Kenilworth Fire Department. 7 are payments to the contractors for work performed. Again, I match everything up each month. They all seem to be proper, hitting for the amounts paid for the work that was done. 8 is the collective bargaining agreement with the custodial collective bargaining agreement, except for a few tweaks with this unit, such as snow days, overtime, summer hours, uniform allowance. It's basically the same contractors that was offered to the teachers. Mr. Davies mentioned resolution number 9, which is the name change of the school. And 10 is the district calendar, which you all probably reviewed at this time. It's a lot, I'm sorry, but in negotiations, we're still trying to clean up a few items on negotiations, so I'll throw that in right now. And that's all I have.
Anyone have questions for Mr. Ladani about any of the resolutions or budget items that were sent?
Yeah, just one. With the resolution number 9, the changing of the name to be David Brearley Middle School and David Brearley High School as 2 separate entities. Does this mean that we are going to be operating the middle school as a truly independent middle school, or will we still have classes where the students from the middle school are participating with perhaps some of the high school students, whether they be instrumental music, vocal music, any of the things like that? Or will we still be utilizing teaching staff in both the high school and the middle school, as opposed to being 2 separate schools?
Yeah, good question. Our plan is to have 2 separate schools with separate faculties. We are not there yet with separate faculties. That shared staff component has been in place at Brearley for a long time, and it's
Right.
hard to completely divorce in a small school, in a small school district. But I cannot think of any course right now that we have planned for next year where there will be overlap. So right now, I don't have any courses. The one question mark that I would leave out there for the future would be instrumental music. Right now, our plan is to not have them commingle. We want to have 6th through 8th grade separated from 9th through 12th grade. And that's the way the plan sits right now for 25-26. Not sure about where numbers would go and staffing-wise, what happens budgetarily speaking, so I can't promise that in perpetuity that'll never happen, but
Right.
it is our intent to make sure that doesn't happen, and as of right now, for next year, for 25-26, it is not happening.
Okay, but the students would still have to enter into the high school building for those things?
We're working out
Right.
those logistics still. We've talked about some different options for that.
Just trying to figure, because I've had people asking me about it, are my kids gonna be still going in there, or is it gonna be?
2 areas where we remain they're question marks currently. The dance program and instrumental music are spaces that, like we have a music room planned for the middle school, but do we want to equip it with the same number of the timpani?
The band, right?
Right, that's to be determined yet in terms of instrumental music. Dance, for the dance studio, which we created 2 years ago, the students will still come down the stairs for that. Luckily, that space is right outside the middle school stairwell where the students come and go, so the classroom is right around the corner from that. So
But there would be just middle school students taking dance with middle school students?
correct. There will not be
high
any
school.
high school students going to the middle school.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Last questions? Okay.
Thank you.
There's no questions. We will now move on to personnel and management. Mr. Haberthon.
Yeah, two resolutions tonight. Resolution 11 is the approval for school year 24-25 paraprofessional aides. And resolution 12 is the approval of middle school after-school programs. Read personnel committee meeting notes. We met on February 24th at 6 p.m. In attendance were Superintendent Davies, Mr. Ganella, myself, Mr. Herdina, Mr. David, and Dr. Panici. We discussed reviewed the 2025-2026 staffing needs and modifications in budget phase 2. We discussed potential budget cuts, class sizes, departmentalization in Harding grades 4 through 5 was considered. The leadership team organizational structure was reviewed, including proposed changes involving the middle school principal, directors, and supervisor instruction position. The committee endorsed the proposal and recommended proceeding with the selection of a candidate for the middle school principal position, aiming for approval in April. The non-tenured staff list was reviewed. The potential for a few increment withholdings was discussed. We also discussed establishing instrument and timelines for the superintendent's annual evaluation. Mr. Ganella has contacted NJSBA, and the portal is now open for the superintendent to update his goals. He will follow up with the NJSBA to review the login process with myself. And for the two new board members, it can be a little bit of a nightmare getting in sometimes, so if you have any issues, just let me know. We also discussed the Board of Education self-evaluation for 2025. The school business administrator's contract for the 25-26 school year was, the committee agreed and reviewed a proposal with the full Board of Education. And the school calendar for 25-26 school year was reviewed, adjourned at 7:46 p.m. You want to read this now?
You can, sure.
Was there?
You can do it now.
Is that policy?
Yeah, for the steering committee?
Yeah.
Okay. Under policy review, it's resolution 15. It's a second reading to adopt. It's P9163, Spectator Code of Conduct for Interscholastic Events. In summary, in May of 2024, NJSIAA updated Spectator Code of Conduct to require that all member schools adopt a policy regarding spectators at interscholastic games and events. If a spectator violates the code of conduct, the penalties increase progressively. Requirements of the policy include immediate removal from the event, disciplinary measures including suspension from future events, an educational component for the individual who violates the policy, an appeal process, and posting requirements of the policy. And the impact is our district already removes violators, suspends them for future events for a period of time, and includes an educational component. This policy strengthens our position when inappropriate sportsmanship on the part of spectators arises at our home events. For example, the policy states that for a first-time offense, the individual is immediately removed and suspended from the next event. If there's a second offense within 365 calendar days, the individual is suspended from the next 3 events, and so forth. This policy will be communicated to all parents at the beginning of each athletic season. Additionally, the policy will be posted in our facilities, and an announcement is made about the code of conduct before games.
Mr. Haber. Thank you.
I have a question on the policy. So as I mentioned in my report, and we did meet with the mayor in the rec people. So with this policy, right, can we push this, I mean, should this go down to the rec level, or anybody using our facility, like the cast play people in the summer, or someone using the field or the gym when parents are there? Because we should have some code of conduct, right? And I don't know if this could be, I guess maybe our attorney can answer that question. Because if we're going to develop a policy of charges and fees and 90% Kenilworth kids, we should have some type of code of conduct when you're out in the school, right, or on the grounds.
I think, we have the district's concussion policy blankets anyone who uses our facility. So I think in the same way, yes, any code of conduct policy could cover anyone who uses our facility. How to police that, enforce
I don't
that,
know,
I
but
don't know. But I think it could be something certainly that we
Incorporate?
have incorporate
Yeah,
and
okay.
require that any organizations that use our facility sign off that they are communicating this policy to
Okay.
their constituents, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But the NJSIAA won't be the one covering.
No,
It would have to be.
no.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be verbatim on that. I mean, we just have you should have some code there.
Sure, anyone using our facility
Yeah,
is
it needs
bound
to-
by this policy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Anyone else have questions for policy review or personnel and management for Mr. Haberther?
Just, in terms of the rec and things like that, using the facility, I would assume that like old policies we have archived that we can reference,
Yeah.
just to take a look at what was done in prior. I assume years ago, we shared the space now.
We
We
currently
still
we
do.
currently share the
These
space.
are programs outside of rec,
Okay.
outside of our rec that are going through the town.
But what was the discussion about that? If you can share a little bit more about it.
I
It's
can
not
share that.
finalized, right, at this time?
It's not finalized, but basically, people that use the schools are usually from the rec department, right? So we've been getting a lot of requests from people that want to use the fields in the gym and everything else from outside Kenilworth entities, I should say. So, we always let the Kenilworth kids do it, but if you're going to have an organization that has 200 kids in a 150 union, there's got to be some kind of policy in there or some kind of fee structure to charge people for the use of our fields that are not associated with the rec committee or the recreation and the town. Because at one time, years and years ago, there was a soccer team here playing. They were using our fields, and I think they were charging the kids $2,000 each to play, or they were mostly adults too. So, I mean, not one kid was from Kenilworth, I don't think. So, that happens. But my opinion is that outside organizations have to have the majority of Kenilworth kids on it if they want to use the facility. So, but it's something we're kicking around.
Anyone else? Questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll now move on to curriculum and instruction. Mr. Ferrera.
Good evening. There's two resolutions for curriculum and instruction. Resolution 13 is appointment of providers for special education evaluations. And Resolution 14 is the HIP report for January. I have some notes here from our meeting from February 20th at 6 p.m. Members in attendance was myself, Dr. Panici, Dr. Concoli, and Ms. Zimmerman. Superintendent Davies was present along with School Business Administrator Mr. Gonella, Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Innovation. I'm going to butcher your name. I'm sorry. Ms. Hiemple?
Heimple.
How is it? Heimple. Sorry. We began with the overview of the mission and operations of the Curriculum and Instruction Department. She explained the work done to support our math instruction with a focus on math program pilots. Mr. Davies and Sam Heimple provided updates to the program of the studies at Brearley for the 2025-26 school year, including new electives as part of the budget. Ms. Heimple and Mr. Davies spoke about Harding's data team meetings around math and ELA achievement. They also provided a roadmap and a timeline for potential expansion for the district, which I'm excited. They also covered additional items, including review of next year's proposed school calendar and an update on their. That's all for me. I apologize for my attire. I was teaching, well, not teaching. I was helping my daughter with her first day at T-ball. So, apologize for my attire. But that's all I got. Yeah. I'm gonna get your name by the end of this.
I'm used to calling you
go
Sam.
home and practice.
You only got 3 more years to figure it out.
I know.
And anyone have questions for Mr. Ferrera on curriculum or instruction? No? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to old business. Does anyone have questions under old business? Okay, we'd like to remind the public to please review the Friday folders for opportunity information about the district. It includes referendum updates, communications with leadership team, budgets information, and it is a resource for anyone in the community that they can use to get information. And if they need additional support or help, please reach out to the leadership teams, the superintendent, or someone so that they can address your questions and work through responding to you. New business?
I have a comment. I'd like to-
Sure.
I just want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day coming up, but really remember when we celebrate, especially this part of the country, that we're really celebrating the Irish coming over to America. So really, we're all immigrants in this country, so just take care of each other, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Two things that I would like to add. The Union County Educational Services Commission had their monthly meeting. I'm on that board. If you're unfamiliar with the commission, it's a board member from every one of the 21, I believe it's 21 counties in Union. We all sit on that board. They approve their budget for next year, so some of our services might potentially be outsourced to the commission. They reviewed their rate increases and approved their budget. So they will share that with us, and then we will communicate it, just so you know we are part of the commission and we may outsource some of those services. Also, the commission is responsible for managing the non-public services, which is our Catholic schools in most communities. The money is funneled into the commissions and subsidized out to pay for things for us at St. Teresa's. So we can give a presentation at some point if anybody has questions, but understanding that the commission, which I serve on for this community, regulates the non-public school funding for St. Teresa's, our school. So if anybody has questions about that, you can always direct it, and I will give any updates as they become available each month with the commission. We would also like to, new business, wish our superintendent a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Davies. You're here on your birthday. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to share under new business at this time? No? Okay. Thank you. We will now move on to open up the meeting to the public for comment. Can I please have a motion to open up the meeting to the public? Second. Motion made by Mr. Ferrera, seconded by Mr. Haberthor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion's carried. Mr. Ganella?
Public comment will now be accepted. The Board of Education sets the limit for the public to speak at the board meeting to 5 minutes per person unless prior permission has been granted by the board for extended time pursuant to KBOE bylaw 0167. For the record, when you approach the podium, please indicate your name and address prior to making your comments.
This time that would like to make a comment, please step up.
See, no one,
No.
I make a motion to close to the public.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Ladati, seconded by Mr. Haberthor. All those in favor of closing the meeting to the public, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion's carried. The meeting is now closed to the public. Mr. Ganella, are we prepared to do a roll?
There are 15 items on the agenda. Do any of those items need to be voted on separately?
I would like to vote on number 9 separately.
Number 9, okay. So this is for resolutions 1 through 15, excluding number 9. Biner?
Yes.
Concoli?
Yes.
David, I'm sorry, Ferrara?
Yes.
Haberthor?
Yes.
Herdina?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Motion's carried. This is resolution number 9 on the agenda. Biner?
Yes.
Crincoli?
Yes.
Ferrara?
Yes.
Haberthor?
Yes.
Herdina?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
And Panici?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. At this time, do we need to go into closed executive session?
Yes, we do.
Okay, can I please have a motion to go into closed executive session? Second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Biner, seconded by Mr. Hedina. All those in favor of going into closed executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carried. Mr. Ganella?
Yes, be it resolved by the Board of Education, the Board of Education meet in private session, which the public shall be excluded to discuss the topics of negotiations, specifically KEA secretaries, clerks, and aides unit, and the PSA unit, as well as personnel regarding the superintendent's annual evaluation. Which private discussion is being held pursuant to Section 7B and 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters under discussion will be disclosed to the public as soon as final decisions are made and voted upon.
Thank you, Mr. Ganell. Thank you very much for attending. We're now going to move into closed session.
Okay, let's
Thank
take a-
you.
Can we-
Take care.
Michelle, can we take the-